Hey class, we got video 3 for this week talking about diffraction as well as how waves interact with barriers that are in their way. So basically what this little content is going to try and have you understand is if I were to stand in front of a door, okay, and I were to basically start talking, what happens to that sound when it goes through that door? Does it just go right straight through? Does it start moving around corners? How does that exactly work? And we can see that by looking at water waves and being able to play with them. Now, you can't exactly play with them right now, but I've got a little video here to show you what exactly happens. And again, water waves are going to interact exactly the same as how sound waves or light waves work, okay? And you can kind of do an exact example of this. If you have a very, very dark room and you have a light in the hallway and you open your door, it's not just the little area that the light seeps into from the door. It also kind of bends around the corner. And let's show how that kind of happens, okay? So let's go to this first. I have some notes that I want to show first. So first, let's do this. It's me again. All right. This is what I want to show. So in your actual notes, there's this. In your actual file folder, there's this. It says, I'll zoom in a little. It says diffraction of waves in 2 dimensions, okay? And so here we can kind of see, it says the diagram below shows waves that are about to enter this thing. So we have waves coming here. There's an opening, kind of think of this as a door. Again, what's going to happen on the other side? And you guys can imagine kind of what's going to happen. The waves basically fan out, okay? So it's not going to, there's a question of basically would it just stay exactly like this and go through? But no, what happens when waves actually go through an opening is they fan out to fill the space up with sound, with light, with water, whatever it is. And that's kind of an interesting part about waves. That's why sound and light are so interesting in how they interact with our world, is because it doesn't just act in a straight zone, it actually fans out. And that's basically the principle of diffraction. This is exactly what diffraction means. It means that when it goes through something or interacts with something, it fans out to, again, better fill that space, okay? Let's go through a couple interesting things about diffraction. So here on those notes, the smaller the actual opening, the bigger diffraction will get. So the smaller and smaller you get, you can see the diffraction actually gets bigger. So as this opening gets smaller, the diffraction gets smaller and smaller and smaller, okay? If this, again, opening was very large, you'd almost see no diffraction because it's basically the same size as the wave. But compared to the wave, the smaller that the opening is compared to the wave, the more diffraction you get on the other side. So this is kind of our little example here. So I've got a little video that they're not going to talk, but I will. Right here. So I'm going to let it play for a second. You can kind of see that it may be hard to see, but I've put this video into our thing, but there's these, and I'll pause it, I guess, for a second. Okay, you can kind of see here there are like little lights, and these are crests. Okay, so they've got this little water table, and they're sending in little crests, little pulses. Okay, and you can kind of see the black here, this is an opening, and you can kind of see them spreading out. Okay, and so you see this spreading out effect with this water wave. All right, now I think very soon he changes it so that this opening is going to get a little smaller. So I think right away here, he's changing. You can kind of see that he's changing this. That way his opening is actually a little smaller. Okay, and this is exactly, again, what we'd be doing in class. I can't, but now you can kind of see. It's really hard to see in this one. The opening is gotten smaller, but if I were to put lines now, the diffraction is way bigger. It's way out here. Okay, we can kind of see 1 crest, 2 crests, 3 crests. And so that diffraction is way bigger because that opening is smaller compared to the wave. Okay, so there's part 1 of diffraction. I want to go through part 2 of diffraction using this little interactive gizmo, basically. It's an interactive wave making machine. And so I've also connected this. This is the interactive, it's called interactive ripple tank. Okay, so if you go research interactive ripple tank, this will be the first thing that comes up. Okay, so I've got kind of this little single slit, and I'm going to let it go for a second, just to kind of show you guys. Come on, there we go. So you can kind of see again, there's waves that are coming through, there's a little opening here, and you can see that diffraction happening out. Okay? I'm going to increase the brightness a little bit. There we go. You can kind of see that diffraction. Alright, so let's stop this, clear it. Let's go to something a little different. What if I put an obstacle in the way? obstacle. Okay, so you can kind of see there's basically this little dot here. Waves are going to come in here. There's an obstacle. What's going to happen? Like these waves are going to stay the same. These waves are going to stay the same. But what happens after this obstacle? Okay, and you can kind of guess that again. They're going to basically bend in to try and fill in that space, and that's basically what happens. So as you can see, that sure it goes out and sure it goes out, but it does bend back in. That way you'll be able to see light and sound interacting actually right here. Okay, so it's not like you're never going to have any light in the middle or sound or anything. It's just, it might sound a little different than if you're standing right here, but it does diffract to actually still fill that space. Last one that I want to do is like, what if I have like a half pane? There it is there. So again, waves are going to come in this way. There's a wall you can kind of see here. And so what happens when the actual waves come through here? Let's do that. So you can kind of see, again, waves are coming in. It's not going to do that much, but you can kind of see it still is. By the time you get down here, I'm going to increase the brightness quite a bit here. There we go. You can see that again. It is going to start filling in this space as it goes. So you may not get it obviously right up here because it can't diffract that much. But the farther and farther away that you get, the more the sound waves or the light waves are going to be able to actually like turn and move and actually get in that space. So anytime basically that waves, I'm going to stop this. Anytime that waves actually interact with a barrier, it's going to try and fill that space behind it. It's going to try and bend. That way it can fill that space. And that's the exact idea behind diffraction. So when you guys go through those 2D investigations, there's a couple of diffraction questions at the very bottom, as well as in the assignment. It's going to talk about like what is diffraction. And again, it's just that bending of waves, whether it's sound or light, to actually fill that open space. And again, the smaller the opening, the bigger the diffraction for that. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a really good, interesting theory to kind of dive into. I guess I wish we could play with it, but that's okay. All right, thanks class. We have one more video talking about how reflection happens off certain things, in the sense of water tables, as well as we'll talk about interference very quickly as well. The last video will be kind of short. All right, I gotta get back to here. All right, thanks class.